Ralph Northam surrounded by supporters in Fairfax, VA, after being elected governor. Gabriella Demchuk for the New York Times. Want to get this briefing by email? Here's the sign-up. Good morning. Here's what you need to know. Election winners, election losers. Voters delivered a forceful rebuke of President Trump and his party on Tuesday, with Democrats winning the governorships in Virginia and New Jersey and making inroads in suburban communities that once favored the Republicans. Here's a roundup of results, and a look at the challenges facing Bill de Blasio, who won a second term as mayor of New York. New Jersey rejected Lieutenant Gov. Kim Wadenia and the Chris Christie administration, electing Philip Murphy. He's a political newbie with progressive roots, our profile shows. Ralph Northam, who kept the governor's seat blue in Virginia, told supporters, "We will not condone hatred and bigotry. Our analysis of the Virginia race looks at the perils of a Trumpist platform. We now know what a lot of us in the party already knew: the Trump message is a big loser in swing states," one Republican strategist said. Another red flag, Devin Kelley, the gunman who killed 26 people in a Texas church, once escaped from a psychiatric hospital but was able to buy weapons later. We interviewed Joaquin Ramirez and Roseanne Solis, who huddled inside the First Baptist Church during the attack on Sunday. The monster was carrying 2 weapons, and aimed specifically at the little children, Mr. Ramirez said. The mass shooting has stirred painful memories in other places of worship that have been the setting of attacks. Next stop, Beijing. President Trump arrived in China today and is expected to ask President Xi Jinping for sanctions to punish North Korea's nuclear ambitions. But China may hesitate to move against an old, if troublesome, ally. President Trump arrived in Beijing on Wednesday. His visit is the stiffest test yet of a characteristically audacious bet that he can persuade President Xi Jinping of China to help rein in North Korea. Doug Milster, New York Times. While he was in South Korea, where a surprise visit to the demilitarized zone had to be cancelled because of fog, Mr. Trump dropped his fiery rhetoric on the North, saying that the region's nuclear standoff will all work out. In Beijing, talks are expected to also focus on trade. We look at China's efforts to dominate the technology sector, raising concerns in Washington. Our reporters predict some high-profile business deals during the visit, but aren't expecting a big breakthrough on trade. The Paradise Papers pop stars and royalty, Queen Elizabeth II, Madonna and Bono are among the many high-net-worth individuals whose investments were revealed. Queen Elizabeth II in London last month. Leaked files have shown that she used a Cayman Islands fund for some investments. Facundo Arrizabalaga, European press photo agency. If you're wondering why you should consider this: the wealthy can afford to find ways to avoid taxes unavailable to the rest of us, widening the wealth gap. Here's a nifty site exploring global inequality. Billionaires' fortunes have grown an average of 7% to 8% a year recently, while total wealth has grown just 3%, an expert on tax havens estimated. The Daily was Iowa killing a hate crime. A murder trial over the death of a 16-year-old described as gender fluid is adding to the national debate over gender identity. Listen on a computer, an iOS device or an Android device. Business Twitter has doubled its character limit for almost all users, and our tech reporter wrote about it in 140 and 280 character bursts. If I wanted to deal with 280 characters, I'd go read Game of Thrones, was one user's reaction. The activist investor William Ackman failed to shake up the board of ADP, a $50 billion payroll processing firm. Snapchat's growth in users disappointed in the third quarter, causing its stock to plunge about 20% in after-hours trading, before recovering slightly. U.S. stocks were mixed on Tuesday. Here's a snapshot of global markets. Smarter living tips, both new and old, for a more fulfilling life. Careful cyclists, no helmets save lives. Finding grace with a parent in decline. Recipe of the day: sautéed chicken breasts can be on the table in 20 minutes. Noteworthy bloody, but unbowed. In today's 360 video, Roseanne Solis, who is recovering from a gunshot wound, talks about the church shooting in Sutherland Springs, Texas, a note so high, it's never been sung before. we meet the soprano Audrey Luna, who sings an A above high C in The Exterminating Angel at the Met Opera. For most performers, that's the equivalent of a pole vault to the sun. Ethical questions for a hard-nosed litigator. David Bowies, a lawyer and Democratic Party stalwart who represented Al Gore in Bush v. Gore, has drawn fire for helping Harvey Weinstein draft a contract for private investigators, and then there was one. The Paris Climate Agreement now has the support of Syria, leaving the U.S. as the only country opposed. In memoriam. Roy Halladay was one of the best pitchers in baseball during his years with the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies. He died in a plane crash at 40, evoking tales from the Iliad and the Odyssey. An engraved stone with a finely detailed battle scene was found in southwestern Greece in a grave from about 1450 BC. The so-called Pylos combat agate, a gemstone engraved with a design that could be stamped on clay or wax, after cleaning. Jeff Vanderpool, Department of Classics, University of Cincinnati, seeking long-deserved rest. Medical experimentation on chimpanzees has ended, but moving all of them into retirement sanctuaries will be difficult. A former research chimp called Bo at a sanctuary in Georgia. Melissa Golden for the New York Times Best of Late Night TV. Stephen Colbert called out President Trump for not hiring American workers. Quotation of the day: "This is a Pandora's box to start having anti-corruption trials. Where does it stop within the royal family? Are there any princes that can show clean hands?" David Ottaway, a Middle East fellow at the Wilson Center, on a Saudi crackdown in which about 500 people, including at least 11 princes, have been detained without public charges. Backstory: Bram Stoker's immortality is proving more difficult to pierce than that of his bloodthirsty creation. Stoker, who was born in Ireland on this day in 1847, gave everlasting life to Dracula, the Transylvanian vampire, in the 1897 novel of the same name, and then took it away. Bram Stoker took 7 years to write Dracula. Holton Archive. Getty Images. Since then, Stoker's tale has been reimagined countless times, in books, on television and in films like Bram Stoker's Dracula 1992. Now, one of his descendants is hoping to revive previously unpublished parts of the story. Stoker took 7 years to write the original novel, clawing his way through an overabundance of imagination and research that left much of the material in drafts. The novelist's great-grandnephew Dacre Stoker announced he would release a prequel, Dracula, in 2018. It draws heavily from Bram Stoker's notes and journal and from family legends. Paramount has already bought the rights, so Dracula may be resurrected on the big screen once again. Laurie Moore contributed, reporting, ____________. Your morning briefing is published weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern and updated all morning. Browse past briefings here. If you like this email, please forward it to your friends, and let them know they can sign up here. If photographs appear out of order, please download the updated New York Times app from iTunes or Google Play. What would you like to see here? Contact us at briefing@nighttimes.com. You can get the briefing delivered to your inbox Sunday through Friday. We have 4 global editions, timed for the Americas, Europe, Asia and Australia, and an evening briefing on weeknights. Check out our range of free newsletters here. Follow Mark A. Walsh on Twitter at MaWalsh40.